All I could think of is the Buzz Lightyear meme. Engagements everywhere. With how this episode is just so casually dropping Nagi, the man involved in a engagement forced by the two's parents, now is attracted to this girl who originally just needed to be smarter than, still needs to compete, needs like 10 wins. Turns out Hiro herself is engaged. Like, at this point, everyone's gonna be goddamn engaged before we even get a confession about who truly likes who, and I mean, at the end of the episode, Sachi, the sister, also is like, hey, engaged sounds pretty nice. And I'm like, what in the actual hell is going on? Yet somehow, it still is amazing. And I really don't think any other author would have got this premise right. I have to be honest. And this type of, like, will they, won't they, normally should fall flat sooner rather than later. And given that we have a 24 episode confirmed run, back-to-back 2-core, I honestly don't think we're going to reach that point of feeling like it's stretched out within that initial run. I do think a premise like this will eventually reach that. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen in this anime season, because eventually, if it's more than 24 to 36 episodes worth of content, I personally think that type of dynamic, no amount of authors, no matter how good they are, can make something extend past that limit. However, given that we have 24 episodes, not just like a 12 episode, who knows if we'll get more, I really don't think we're going to have to worry about that too soon, because they're continuing to spice it up in fun ways, while also kind of making characters who I may not have had that strong of a first impression seem a little more human. Hiro herself, I've seen some mixed opinions. I haven't seen too many comments, but just given what I have seen in my own comment section, it seems like Hiro can be a mixed character. Some people like her, some people say they absolutely hate her. And I was kind of in the middle. I mean, the whole overly competitive attitude, not really the most attractive character trait in my opinion. However, this episode, even though she initially was kind of getting on my nerves with the, okay, he beat her, but still not enough, the logic does make sense. If she's kicked his ass, throughout every school year, a single school year beating doesn't necessarily prove that he's smarter. It's just in that moment, he might have been. But then they have that, like, race to get their bag, and it's, like, super childish, super innocent, and she ends up having fun and saying he won in that moment as well. So I like the fact that they made her more down to earth despite having that overly competitive attitude, and to me that signifies that most likely there's some stressful stuff with her own family life. Maybe the engagement's part of it, maybe it's, she feels like she needs to be a certain level, maybe in order to get out of the engagement, but ultimately she felt more grounded. She didn't feel as preppy. She didn't feel as bossy. And she felt like you could have a laugh with her rather than her just being like, she has a stick up her ass. So you can kind of see where Nagi's coming from a bit more in this episode. But I like the fact that as messy as the web is, because seriously, let's break it down, right? Nagi likes Hiro. Hiro is engaged to Unknown. Hiro, as of right now, doesn't like Nagi back, but probably eventually will like Nagi back as she's also engaged. We have Erika, who is engaged to Nagi, but doesn't love Nagi yet, but is starting to show, so eventually she'll actually want Nagi, and then Nagi will probably eventually want her, as then you also have the sister thrown in, who wants to be connected to her sister, but also is like, well, he's not really my brother, so maybe it's not too wrong. This shit's already wild at 4 episodes in, and I feel like this is only scratching the surface of the wild who likes who is truly gonna go. And yet, I come out saying it works somehow. And I don't know how, but it just doesn't infuriate me. One of the biggest reasons for that is Nagi is a fantastic main character. I think he's overreactive. I think he's a bundle of energy. But he's just a genuinely good dude who calls out the bullshit more often than not. And I love the fact that, whether it's him and Erika just kind of like having this bit of like almost couples bickering, they really do feel like they're two peas in the same pod, right? But at the same time, you can also look at his connection with Hiro, and because they're so similar, you can understand why they would also make a good couple, right? So I think for me personally, even if I have characters I prefer over other characters, I'm always of the belief, whatever makes the most sense for the character, in terms of what they feel and what they believe, then that's what I'm going to root for, other than wish fulfillment in my anime. But I like how they're actually establishing quite a few good different plot points, even if the most obvious, which I would say 95% of mangakas go for, which is the initial main couple duo. So in the case of this show, it would be Erika and Nagi. But I would honestly argue with episode 4, they've actually given a genuine, I think, good hook for Hiro fans. I honestly feel that way. And I think it was a nice surprise that, the sister ended up coming over, and the fact that they genuinely feel like sisters. It's not even just because, like, okay, they're naturally blood related, so there's going to be some similarities. But, like, they're definitely different, you know, in terms of the compassionate side and things like that. And then you have the more kind of, like, arrogant, kind of hot-headed. But their mannerisms, the way they eat, the way they get flustered over an automatic sink or the just cutting a cabbage, right? They're so similar, and I love seeing them truly bond in this episode, because episode 1 makes it feel like, you know, they're gonna be like rivals, right? She's gonna be like, oh, I'm not related by blood, I can try to steal them all for myself. But instead, like, she generally wants to be connected, they both do, to their family, but, you know, they're embarrassed, they're flustered, they don't know what to do, and Nagi was honestly the glue that kept that situation together. And I actually like the reason of him having to go back to that home, because I thought they were bullshitting. I thought they were just being parents trying to be like, no, 2 weeks isn't enough. We're going to make sure they fall in love. They legit were kicked out of their house, and there wasn't room. I wasn't expecting that. But I think the cherry on top was that she decided to stick around because she's not independent, and she wants to be independent because she's had a life of maids and service, so now she needs to learn. Even if she's still trying to pawn off her laundry and all the tasks to Nagi, it's nice to see that she's not just that spoiled rich girl. Nagi is definitely rubbing off on her, and in return causing her to be more human than just someone to be waited on. Like, honestly, this show, like, I wouldn't be shocked if every week coming up for the next couple of months I come up here saying I'm surprised it's still this good. Because even though I'm not worried about this show, it's just something like, almost like the voice in the back of your head saying, you've seen enough. You've read enough. You know enough about this medium, goddammit. Where is the bullshit gonna pop up? Because this type of show, even if I love it, has to have some bullshit. And it's almost like they buried the bullshit before it could really become too stinky. Like, that's how it feels. And honestly, man, I'm surprised this one's not doing more popular for just, like, discussions and stuff, because I think this one, it's not even like it has the cute stuff, it has the more spicy stuff, but it has the heart, and it has so many good characters that I'm honestly surprised, even with this one starting a bit later in the season, I'm still surprised this one isn't being more hyped up than it is. Like, I would think anime channels would eat this shit up just because of Best Girl Wars and Best Girl clickbait, right? But shit, man, I'm loving it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the season, but it's something that I'm more anticipating as the weeks go on. And, I mean, for a show that should be a harem, generic, no give-a-shit attitude main character, I love all the characters right now. All the females, the families. I love the premise, and I love the fact that the show wears its heart on its sleeve, and things that should be generic have actually been turned into an interesting plot point for a show. Hell, I'd be more than happy if more mangas took influence of this one, because this one clearly knows what it's doing, at least for now. And I also just enjoy the almost Kaguya-sama level character reactions, like not quite as extreme as that show, but there's some juicy moments of just meme-worthy, whether it's the almost meme of the anime faces or the over-exaggerated shocked reactions. Some good production details across the board. But thoughts if you have any. Favorite character as it stands, Nagi is definitely my favorite. I would put Eric a very close second, but I'm actually liking them all. But thoughts if you have any on your favorites down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.